Now at 5, a law enforcement officer from eastern Missouri who has ties to the 4 states is killed in the line of duty. Plus, the public pays their respects to fallen Joplin police officer Jake Reed, and how a new local nonprofit is helping support families with foster and adopted children.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The death of a law officer in eastern Missouri today feels too familiar. He was killed in the line of duty, and he has ties to the 4 states. This is KOAM News at 5. Bonne Terre, Missouri police officer Lane Burns, killed today, was born in Carthage, where he attended school through high school. Some of his family still lives in the Carthage area. Authorities say Burns and a gunman died following a shootout at a motel in Bonne Terre, Missouri that left another officer wounded. Investigators say Burns and fellow officer Garrett Worley were sent to a reported disturbance at a Motel 6 in Bonne Terre a little after 12:30 this morning. Police say a man came out and fired at the officers with a handgun, and both officers were shot. The officers returned fire, killing the man, later identified as 21-year-old James Emery of St. Louis. Officer Burns later died at a hospital. Officer Worley was flown to a St. Louis trauma center with a gunshot wound to the leg. Bonne Terre, like the 4 states area, is heartbroken.
This is a small community, a smaller community, smaller police department, so this really hits hard for those folks here. It's going to be a tough go the next few days, next few weeks as they deal with the aftermath of this in their community.
Officer Burns was 31 years old and leaves 2 children. His fiancée, Shannon Chasteen, says she was listening to police scanners and heard the call that the officers were down. The public tonight, right now, is paying respects to fallen Joplin police officer Jake Reed, who was killed in last week's Joplin shooting. The visitation is taking place at the Leggett and Platt Center at MSSU. You do still have time to visit. The public is allowed in until 8 this evening. The funeral for Officer Reed will take place tomorrow. It will be at the Leggett and Platt Center. The funeral services will begin at 1 p.m. You'll be able to see the funeral live on KOAMNewsNow.com and through the KOAM News app. Officer Reed was 27. A temporary memorial to the fallen Joplin officers Reed and Ben Cooper that's on display in the JPD lobby. It's going to be closed to the public at 5 tomorrow afternoon. The makeshift memorial began spontaneously when people started putting flowers and mementos on a patrol car outside the department. Police moved that memorial inside before last week's snowstorm. A Joplin organization is creating a fund to support the children of area first responders who are killed or injured in the line of duty. The Joplin Regional Community Foundation today established the Answering the Call Fund. The fund will provide money for education and other expenses to families of first responders in Jasper and Newton counties.
But if you had an officer whose child, for example, didn't have any special needs but needed some help with education above and beyond the benefits that were already there. Or maybe he had a mother who has survived. And you're like, well, the mom he was helping out with, and so can we help with that? So it's really designed to be flexible for whatever the particular need is.
The Joplin Regional Community Foundation is accepting donations for the fund on its website. When tragedy strikes, it can leave a lasting emotional toll on our mental health. That's why social workers with Hope Spring in Joplin are encouraging first responders and the general public to practice self-care and seek counseling if needed during this difficult time for our community. Experts say our mental and emotional health can start to impact us in physical ways, but getting help early on can prevent other unhealthy disorders.
If they are having sleep disturbance, not able to eat, those things need to be addressed. And we want to address them, help the person through this process so that they don't develop PTSD.
Colling says first responders may struggle with feelings of survivor's guilt, but counseling can help. If you or someone you know needs to talk, you can find links to mental health resources in this article on our website. That's KOAMNewsNow.com. Some changes are brewing in the weather. Doug Heddy.
Yeah, we got showers. We got thunderstorms in the forecast as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight. And if you've looked outside, you have seen the clouds increasing over the past several hours, which you can see on our satellite and radar composite. Clouds will continue to thicken up, but it's warm, it's windy across the region. But here's our storm system developing out across central, western parts of Kansas. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect across central Kansas. And that's where most of the severe weather is going to be as we go through the evening hours for us tonight. But we are going to get some strong guys in here, and I think these will start popping up 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Temperatures, look at this, mid to upper 70s. It's windy. We got the south winds fairly strong. Through the evening hours, we slide back through the 70s, 60s. Thunderstorms developing, and we'll talk more about that here in just a bit.
See you then. The Missouri State Highway Patrol is investigating a death in Vernon County. Yesterday, the Vernon County Sheriff's Office received a report of a body found in a field southeast of Nevada. The sheriff asked the Highway Patrol's Division of Drugs and Crime Control to conduct the investigation. Authorities have not released other details. Law enforcement reports multiple deaths from a fiery pileup involving 40 to 50 vehicles on Interstate 57 near Charleston, Missouri. Investigators believe someone hit the brakes in foggy conditions early today and a chain reaction followed. They say the vehicles include several tractor trailers and some caught fire. No word on how many people were taken to the hospital, but they include at least one first responder. Foster Adopted Connect opened their doors today in Joplin. They're a nonprofit organization that supports foster and adopted children and families through their 8 different programs. They provide clothes, diapers, wipes, shoes, household items, and more. They're all free of charge, and they help support children and families through their many programs.
This has been a great opportunity to work in my passion, something I hadn't had before, and so that's been really tremendous.
The kids that are tucked in every night in this community are going to have access to more people on their team trying to do what's necessary to give them a positive outcome.
The facility is at 1802 West 32nd Street. It relies on donations. For more information, click on the link on this story on KOAMnewsnow.com. Folks at the Joplin Library had a chance to learn about what it's like to work at a zoo. Mike Crocker, the director of the Dickerson Park Zoo in Springfield, stopped by the library for a book signing for his new book, There's a Crocodile in My Bathtub, True Tales from the Dickerson Park Zoo. As part of the book signing, he brought along some ambassador animals.
A couple of people have told me that have read the book that it was one of those kind of books that you just can't put it down. You start reading the stories and they're so interesting that they just don't want to quit.
I think we've met. He also told some of his favorite stories from working at the zoo. Still ahead, an important holiday for certain types of business.
Irish pubs are counting on this St. Paddy's Day after 2 tough years during the pandemic. I'm Bradley Blackburn with a toast to the survivors and all those pubs that had to close permanently.
And next in Health Watch, health experts say COVID cases overall are falling throughout the country, but a subvariant is spreading. Topping today's Health Watch, President Biden has named a new COVID-19 coordinator who's set to take over next month. The announcement comes with overall cases still trending downward, but as a subvariant of Omicron is spreading in parts of the U.S. and overseas. Michael George reports.
As the U.S. enters the next phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, CDC Director Rochelle Walensky says there's reason for optimism.
We're in a much better place now than we were just a year ago.
But as restrictions ease, public health officials remain concerned about BA2, a subvariant of Omicron, spreading here and in parts of Europe and China.
What we're seeing with BA2 is not really any more severe disease, not any more immune evasion than we saw with the original Omicron. We do see that it is a bit more transmissible.
Daily cases and hospitalizations are down in the U.S. It's a stark contrast from the U.K., where hospital admissions are surging after the nation dropped its remaining COVID rules.
The pandemic is not over. We call on all countries to remain vigilant.
New York City's famous St. Patrick's Day Parade was one of the first events to be canceled when the pandemic first began. Today, after a 2-year hiatus, it's back with no COVID restrictions.
It just gives you a warm feeling inside. It's been 2 years of us doing it virtually or just with close family, and now we're out.
President Biden had to meet virtually with Ireland's Prime Minister after the visiting leader tested positive for COVID-19 Wednesday night.
I did at a little distance for 7.5 minutes get to see yesterday.
Thursday, the president also tapped public health expert Dr. Ashish Jha to lead the White House COVID response team. Dr. Jha will take over for Jeff Zients, who's been in the role the last 14 months. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The FDA says a panel of outside experts will meet next month to discuss booster eligibility and whether the U.S. will need a second booster shot. Scientists at the University of Cambridge are sounding the alarm about long-term cognitive issues associated with COVID-19. An online study of 181 long COVID patients over 18 months revealed more than 2/3 still experience difficulty concentrating, brain fog, or forgetfulness, conditions which can significantly affect daily life. An international team of researchers examined studies involving mothers infected with COVID-19 during pregnancy and found less than 2% passed the virus on to their babies. Babies were more likely to test positive if their mothers had severe COVID-19 infection. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, Airborne Gummies announces a recall because of issues with their bottles.
Plus, thunderstorms increasing for us tonight. I'm going to have those details coming up. Well, it turned out to be another warm, windy day for us today. Temperatures pressing 80 during the afternoon, which is pretty good for the middle of March as we warmed up quite a bit. Looks okay out there right now. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. A lot of clouds, but it's a nice evening. Temperature is pretty good. It's windy, but we do have showers and thunderstorms, which will increase as we go through the evening hours. Look at our temps, upper 70s, mid to upper 70s to near 80. It's kind of windy out there. We have those southerly winds, which have been kicking in all day long at about 10 to 20, but gust a little bit higher than that. You can see this line right through Wichita. That is our front that is slowly going to head toward us as we go through the overnight hours tonight. 7th range line currently outside, 77 south winds at 10. Humidity is pretty low right now. It's at 32%. Through the evening hours, slide back through the 70s, 60s. Eventually, later on tonight, we'll drop back into the 40s as colder air is rushing in. As of right now, we just had the clouds, which are increasing, will continue to increase across the region. But here's our storm system. You can see a very intense little upper level low right across the panhandle of Texas. Now, this is going to track right over us. Most severe weather likes to stay southeast of the upper level low. And because it's going to track right over us, the greater severe threat stays to our south, which is good, but we're still going to get some pretty good thunderstorms in here later on tonight. But you can start to see thunderstorms getting going out across central Kansas. The orange box that pops up, that is a severe thunderstorm watch. So really from Tulsa off toward the southwest. We're going to get some thunderstorms in here, but again, severe threat very, very low, which is good news for us as we go through the evening hours. All right, let's go through time. Here's 9 p.m. Scattered thunderstorms starting to pop up. Now, some of these storms could be a little bit stronger, so some very small hail, maybe some wind gusts 35 upwards to 40. Scattered thunderstorms continue. A little bigger band gets in here late evening into the overnight hours, so midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, some heavy amounts of rain, loud night, just good old thunderstorms. Showers, thunderstorms. Here's 4 o'clock in the morning, a little bit of a break in the morning hours, then we get on the back side of the system. So showers, just rain, rotates in through the daytime hours tomorrow. We're going to hang out near 50 most of the morning, then we're going to drop into the 40s as we go into the afternoon. So just kind of a cool, kind of raw, kind of nasty day, on and off showers throughout the day. Here's 7 p.m. I do think by mid-evening, all these showers get out of here. And then we rebound pretty well. It's going to be cold Saturday morning, but Saturday afternoon, we're going to go back into the 60s for highs, which is pretty good. All right, rainfall amounts. I think most of us, a half an inch upwards to an inch of rain with these showers and thunderstorms that are going to roll through as we go into the overnight hours tonight. Again, some stronger storms, not expecting anything severe. 51 tomorrow. We will drop into the 40s during the afternoon. Check out the weekend. 64 Saturday, 73 on Sunday. Just perfect. We do get a severe threat in here by Monday afternoon.
Nice weekend for some yard work, though, before that happens.
Yeah, grass is going to start sprouting here.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Doug. Hey, third Thursday season begins today in downtown Joplin. Look at this. This is a live look of the event from high overhead. Some of the festivities include food trucks, live music, a vintage car show, and vendors. As always, it all kicks off pretty soon. 5:30 tonight. It's going to run until 8:30. Might want to check it out. Coming up, how Irish pubs are relying on St. Patrick's Day to bounce back. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Melvin Larson served in the U.S. Army from 1942 to 1946. Parsons, Kansas native, was stationed in France, and we salute Technician 5th grade Melvin Larson, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, millions of bottles of airborne gummies are being recalled due to an issue with their containers. The Consumer Product Safety Commission posted the recall notice, saying the air company behind Airborne has received 70 reports of the cap or seal popping off of bottles. 18 reported minor injuries. 1 reported an eye injury requiring medical attention. The recall affects select 63 and 75 count bottles in blueberry, pomegranate, orange, and assorted fruit flavors. This St. Patrick's Day, no one is ready to celebrate more than owners of Irish pubs. They were some of the very first small businesses to feel the pain of the pandemic, forced to close just before the holiday in 2020. Reporter Bradley Blackburn has more on how they're toasting a return to normal.
At McGee's Pub in New York City, they've spent decades pouring pints for regulars. But for the first time in a long time, the neighborhood pub is starting to feel regular again.
The restrictions are all lifted, so we're looking for a pre-COVID Paddy's Day.
Manager and partner Frank McCauley remembers the moment in 2020 when he was gearing up for big St. Patrick's Day crowds. The pandemic forced him to close.
You couldn't pick a worse time. No, we lost our busiest day of the year.
Pubs have always been more than a place for a drink. They're part of the community.
It brings the neighborhood together.
But so many pubs didn't survive the pandemic. Irish pubs have closed across the country, from Boston to Denver, Dallas to Sacramento.
Well, the Irish are known for their hospitality.
Sean Murphy writes about New York bars for his website Murph Guide. Tracking pandemic closings, he's counted 25 Irish pubs in Manhattan permanently shuttered. That's more than 10%.
What is lost when one of these pubs closes?
A business owner loses his livelihood, employees lose their jobs, people lose their favorite watering hole. So losses on both sides of the bar.
Guys, how are we doing? How's everything here?
So this St. Patty's, survivors like McGee's are celebrating and counting on others to join in.
Getting back to doing what we do, running a pub.
It's taken more than the luck of the Irish to make it. And now raise a glass to the future. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The National Restaurant Association estimates 90,000 establishments have closed permanently or long-term due to the pandemic. Amazon has closed a deal to buy legendary movie studio MGM for $8.5 billion. MGM is home to 17,000 television shows and more than 4,000 films, including the James Bond franchise. The Federal Trade Commission did not challenge the deal. The European Union's Antitrust Commission has also approved it. A final check of the forecast up next. Up next, the CBS Evening News comes to Southeast Kansas tonight for an investigation of supermarket deserts, some creative solutions for communities that no longer have a grocery store. Then, CBS coverage of the NCAA basketball tournament begins tonight at 6, meaning we will not have a 6 p.m. news. And our late news is going to be a bit later than usual. We're thinking around 11 p.m. tonight. We invite you to stay with us for all of that. In the meantime, Doug's going to be keeping an eye on the sky. We have some rain, some thunderstorms possibly moving in.
Yeah, next few hours are going to be okay, but after about 8 or 9 p.m., we'll start to get some scattered thunderstorms. Pretty good band's going to roll in between about 11 and 2 a.m. And then just kind of cloudy showers, chilly for us tomorrow as we drop back into the 40s. But check out the weekend, setting up pretty good.
Thanks for joining us again. Basketball begins at 6. We'll see you here again late night. Let's make it a great evening.